And we are live. Love and abundance, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in to the What's Your Story show. This is your host, Dr. Varun Gandhi. Again, welcome, love and abundance, everyone. As we have people joining in, as we have people tuning in, I am going to start out with the water ritual. This is something that I've continued, with every episode that I've done lately, and I want to keep that tradition. In the last episode, I went into depth about why I do the water ritual, but essentially it is to remind people to drink more water. Water is the essence of life, and I'm going to invite everyone right now, whoever's watching in, and as you're joining in, let's pick up our water bottles and let's all take a sip together. Cheers, everyone! Let's all drink to it, drink to our fill. All right. Also, have your water bottles handy because we're going to be drinking water throughout this interview. Today we have an exciting topic. Last week we kind of went over weight loss, but today we're going to really dive into weight loss and give you some techniques of weight loss. It's the cheat code. That's what I want to call it. And our guest today, Dr. Choksy, will talk about what that is, and we'll go through multiple different steps and possibly even show you that exercise today. Okay, so before we get to our guests, I want to talk about really quickly about what the show is, and I'll set context. So this show is about it's called What's Your Story, and here we capture stories of the Indian community. We discuss issues, challenges, limitations. We talk about how we can bring people together, build ourselves up, build our community up. We discuss paths that are not commonly traversed by us. I have a non-traditional path. Our guest today has a non-traditional path. Everyone that's tuning in right now, please say hi in the comments, and type in where you're from as well. I want to hear, at least read your comments on the screen. So check in. Where are you guys from? Let's hear it. And as people are checking in, you know what? I'm going to set the context. So one of our themes for today is walking a different path in life, right? We have our traditional doctors, we have our traditional attorneys and accountants and all of that stuff. All of that's done, all of that's been taken care of. But now I want to make it, take it upon me to promote paths in life that are not really talked about, right? Things that we don't commonly come across. And our guest today has a family medicine background, but then something that's not so common just yet. I feel like a lot of us are getting into it now, but we're not all the way there yet. So our guest today is Dr. Choksy, and I'm going to bring him on the screen. What's up, Dr. Choksy?
Hey, Namaste. How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you.
What's been going on, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Fantastic. It's been a good day. It's been a
Yeah,
blessed day.
awesome, man. I
Yeah.
love that bow tie.
Yeah.
It looks really, really nice on
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so before we get to all of the questions, let's take a sip
Yeah.
of water together. Let's do cheers. Again, people that are joining in, let's drink our sip. Let's drink together. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
I want to make sure that everyone is constantly reminded to drink water. All right,
Yeah,
Doctor.
we're gonna talk about water a lot. So
Oh, you mentioned that you have a specific water bottle for a reason. What's the
we'll talk
secret
about
behind
that. We'll
it?
talk
We'll talk
about
about it
that.
later. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. We'll bring
Yeah,
that
for
up.
sure.
All right, fantastic. Okay, the first question is, okay, you have a background you're a board certified family medicine physician, right?
Yeah.
And along with that, you're a yogi. So how did that happen? How did those two paths merge? Because I feel like in a lot of our lives, those two paths are very parallel to each other, and you
Yeah.
don't see people merging or coming across someone that's in both of those paths. So how did you make that bridge?
Well, there were a few things. So in 2017, it was an amazing year, but I went through a breakup in my relationship. And then after that, I said I was employed. And I said, you know what, this is a perfect time to go out and start my own practice. But then one of the key thing in my practice that I always taught was, if I say something to my patients, I want to have a conviction in my word and in my actions. So one of those things was telling them to exercise. So I always exercise. Telling them to eat right. Well, I at that time, I thought I was eating right. But then at some point, I wanted to tell them, hey, look, you got to meditate. You have to do a little bit of yoga. But I didn't know what it was, other than being Indian and having this exposure of, into spirituality and religion. And so I took 3 4 months off. I went to India, stayed at the Yoga Institute, and a couple of the temples over there. There's a pyramid temple in Mauri in the central Gujarat as well. So I stayed there and did 14 15 hours or 12 to 14 hours of yoga pretty much every day. So that took my life in a different trajectory. I started seeing things in a totally different light. Even the entire practice of medicine just became a practice of seeing energy and seeing people for who they really are, right? They're not just body, they're souls. So, and spirit and energy, and it's all frequencies. So the whole concept was totally different. I just wanted to do it so that I can have conviction, but then the outcomes on myself were totally different, which led me into a totally different path of practicing medicine.
So
And yeah, it's been.
before we get to the transformation, right? I want to talk about, you mentioned a breakup. In my life, the same thing happened. I went through a breakup, and that transformed me. That's brought me onto the spiritual path as well, and dive deeper into meditation. And I had a different path as you, but that's kind of my reason for getting into it.
Yeah.
So, what was that period like for you after the breakup, and what were you going through? And what were some stories that you're like realize, okay, I don't want to feel like this anymore, I want to take that step and go to India and make that change?
So initially, it was obviously shocking because things happen suddenly, but then I within the month, like within I think a couple of weeks or so, even though I was shocked, I realized that every single person on this planet has the right to make decisions that they feel at that point in time that makes them happy. I cannot judge that person, and I have no right to. And all of my decisions that I made and all of her decisions that she made were based off of the things at that point in time that made both of us happy. So there was shock, but and I was getting over it, but at the same time there was I had forgiven her and forgiven myself, and I thought, it's best to just be happy about it. And then I started this whole path of being independent and starting my own practice, getting away from conventional world, joining yoga institute, and it's just been from the place of appreciation and gratitude, because whatever that I learned, it has helped me become who I am today. So, and that was really fast. Like I understood that it, all in all, people who know me, they would say that it probably took me almost a year to be completely back to normal. But that was the transformation, and I think yoga and meditation and being with my guruji
Mm.
and having the blessings of the people who are more closer to God than I was at that point, and I am even today. I would say that has a lot to do with it, and probably a consistent spiritual practice has a lot to do with it as well, because you just see that person as a soul, and everything happens because of the cosmic karmic bondage and flow. So it's pretty it's pretty interesting.
uh, okay, you mentioned something about you're a yogi, you live there, what, meditated for, or you did yoga for 15 hours, you said, a day?
12 to 15 or
12 to
14,
15. What
something
was
like
that
that.
schedule like? What was that like? I've contemplated doing
Oh
something like
man,
that.
I was so I didn't create that schedule. Okay, like they gave me that schedule and I just followed all the classes. But We woke up somewhere about 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, meditated, and it wasn't a mandatory schedule, but that's what a lot of us did. And then at 6 o'clock was our first class, 6 to 8:30. Then there was breakfast, and then there were classes again starting at 9:15, 9:30. There were more classes in terms of learning the science of yoga, learning the science of mudras and the science. And then at 11, we did another whole hour and a half of physical yoga, right? Whether it's Surya Namaskar or other different postures and whatnot. And then at 12:30, we had lunch. At 1:30, we went back into class, sat there for another half an hour, maybe hour and a half. At 3 o'clock, we took a 10-minute break and then went back into physical yoga class. So that lasted for another hour and a half, took 15-minute break, went back to physical yoga. And then we had another class that was on the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So we went through the entire book, or at least tried to.
Wow.
And so that was in another hour in between, I think from 6 to 7. And then from 7:30 to 8:30 was another yoga class. But that was more of a relaxing yoga class. So then we kind of experienced what would you do in the morning, what would you do in the afternoon, what would you do. So depending on what time of the day. But
Right.
the thing is that when I started connecting all of those things with my understanding of physiology and medical science, it's a totally different thing that they didn't teach, but that's what I got out of.
Wow. You
Yeah.
made those connections. You made that bridge
Because I
between.
thought about them, right? Because yoga is disease specific, yoga is body type specific, yoga is personality specific, yoga is goal specific. So every single person in my clinic, if they do something that I tell them to do, it is because of I incorporate all four of these things. So it's super personalized. And probably because of this reason where most yoga classes aren't designed this way, there is 70% dropout rate because 70% of the people will not fit your type of yoga that you're teaching to the world. That's
Mm,
you, right? And it may not fit the time of the day either, right?
right.
So then even if you teach the same yoga throughout the whole day, it might not fit everybody. So that's something that I realized, that this yogic science is way more than just physical, because it every posture has a hormonal change. Every breathing pattern that you do in the posture has a different hormonal and electrochemical to physiological changes.
Mm.
And that was profound understanding.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do mudras, different hand mudras in
yeah,
the morning, do pranayama, breathing exercises
yeah,
through that.
awesome.
And I know the ones for the seven chakras, so
Yeah,
that's what I do, the seven different ones, and
awesome.
seven chakras right here.
Yep, yep.
Uh, yeah, and so how was it early on in your path of being a yogi? Like, did you have a support system? Did you need one? Was there like resistance within your family, within your friends? Did you have any opposition to it, or you were like, I'm just gonna go there, do it. It was my thing, and how was
No,
it for you?
there was no opposition. I think everybody was supportive. And I think I had a reason. I just wanted to take 3, 4 months off from the world.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So at that point, you were very independent in your life, that you didn't
Yeah,
have any kind of.
yeah,
Okay. All right. Now let's get to the weight loss portion.
yeah,
Uh, that's a topic for the day. Everyone
yeah.
wants to know what is that cheat code to weight loss, and we have one specific technique that you want to talk about, right? So let's get to it. What is it?
So one of the cheat code is, this is something that I learned, and I had this understanding from my background in science and yoga. So my background is pharmaceutical sciences, and then I went into, that's my bachelor's. But
Mhm.
when you look at fat gets broken down when you add oxygen to it. So fatty acids plus oxygen, O2 molecules, gets broken down into CO2 and H2O.
Okay.
And that article, I published it, or at least not, I didn't publish it, sorry. British Medical Journal had it in 2014 or 2013. And then I posted that link and the picture on my Instagram. But I had this belief for a long time, and I found this article. And what we think of fat burning is not about fat burning, is fat getting converted to carbon dioxide and water. And carbon dioxide comes out of you through exhalation. So if we want to lose weight, then breathing out is essential. Now, second thing is, one thing that we have to keep that in mind is there are enzymes that convert fatty acids plus oxygen, and then these are the substrate that convert into carbon dioxide and water. But this can be a two-way street. So if we don't breathe out carbon dioxide enough, meaning if we are shallow breathers, then this is a hypothesis. Obviously, I don't think it has been proven in a clinical double-blind control perspective, randomized studies. So according to this hypothesis,
Hopefully soon,
is
huh?
huh?
Hopefully soon. Hopefully you do it soon.
Hopefully soon, but that's how it works. So if you don't breathe out, right? Like I'm talking to you right now, even if I breathe out, I still have some air. That's why I'm able to talk. But if I completely get rid of it, there's no air, and I won't be able to talk. So that's complete exhalation of all carbon dioxide. So when we get rid of carbon dioxide, this product is going away. Byproduct is water. So you have carbon dioxide and water that are being produced. So you're hydrating yourself. Mitochondria is hydrating yourself. That's the byproduct when the fat molecules are getting converted. So you're kind of essentially forcing this issue to happen more when we let go of air a little bit faster than whatever normal baseline is. So think about O2, that's two molecules of oxygen, CO2, that's one extra carbon and two oxygen, right? So where is this carbon coming from? There's an actual weight associated with this carbon. So this is in life, giving is required to take, right? You have to give more than what you take in. And that's the lesson of the day. When if we want to give more, and we are doing that, right? We are designed that way. Our entire body is designed that way, where every breath we're giving away three molecules while we're only taking in two oxygen. But somehow that allows us to anti-age, somehow that allows us to grow. So if you think holding on to something is is going to help us grow, that's not going to help us grow. That's only going to make us fatter. So the more carbon dioxide that we hold on to, that's shallow breathing, that's extra CO2. Our body says, okay, this is acidic. We have a level that we want to maintain less than 24 units in the blood, or deciliters in the blood, or something, whatever the unit is. But that's 24, and we want to be less than that. And if we're holding on to carbon dioxide, COPD, asthma, less in asthma, but snoring at night, if you're obese and we have hypoventilation syndrome, if you're just fatigued, right after at the end of the day, we're not getting enough proteins and our muscles are not there to allow us to help breathe better. If we sit on a computer all day and hunch, then we're holding on to this carbon dioxide. Your kidneys are saying, hey, look, this is metabolic acidosis. Let's kickstart the kidney, and you might pee out a lot of carbon dioxide, but then there's a speed at which it goes out. So then we're holding on to this carbon dioxide in the body, and we keep drinking extra water. So now you have this two substrate, which are the product, which are going up, right? Carbon dioxide is going up and water is going up. And if both of those things go up, you can only get rid of these things at a certain speed. So what does the body do? Body loves adapting to its environment. So body says, okay, you know what? Let me convert this and stop this breakdown process of fat. So fat essentially doesn't get broken down. It might even be made, because it could be a reversible process from combining H2O and CO2. So if hypothetically you and I are shallow breathers, and if we keep drinking water, there is a possibility that we're making more fat out of H2O and CO2, which is a whole different concept. So we have to look at and say, okay, when is fat made, right? So fat, in my opinion, essentially is only made after the sun set in the evening, because our essentially our body is running, expending 80% of its energy during the daytime. So if we're getting rid of our energy because we're working, we're at work, we're whatever, right? The sun is out, all the enzymatic processes, everything that happens in the body is upregulated. So if all of those things are happening during the daytime, we need to put in energy when the car is running. We need to put the gas in the body when the car is running. 90% of us are putting in gas, but after we come home, and 80% of the energy is going in for dinner. Here's what happens. Breakfast, your body only takes 2 hours to digest breakfast. Most of us know that. You eat something at 8, by 10, 11, you're already hungry. It takes 3 hours to digest lunch. It takes 4 hours to digest your dinner. So even if you ate at 6 o'clock, what's happening is that food is still in the stomach. It's not properly digested because your body is calming itself down. All the metabolic speed, all the metabolic enzymes, metabolic rate is all slowing down because we're winding down. We're not working. We're not about to go out and run a 5 mile race or work all day long. So our body is used to coming home and saying, okay, I'm going to chill out, I'm going to relax, and everything in my body is going to slow down. So if things are slowing down, and you're putting in gas in a car that's going to go to sleep, what's the point of putting in gas in a car that you're going to put in a garage? And then by 10 o'clock, we're already in bed. From 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, it took to digest food. If it starts absorbing around 9:30, maybe a little bit of went to the duodenum and jejunum in the small intestines, all your muscle doors are saying, you know what? I don't want all this food. I don't want any of all of my muscles are saying, I don't want this food. I don't want to be active. I'm trying to go to sleep. Why did you put all this food in my body? So then it tells your insulin and says, hey buddy, turn on this HMG CoA reductase enzyme. Let's make fat. That's the enzyme that we block with Lipitor. So essentially our body says, if muscles are not going to take up all this sugar and all the protein and all the fats that they want, we're going to convert them into storage form. So this is what's happening in the evening time. So when we breathe, when we get rid of this carbon dioxide constantly, we're getting rid of that extra carbon. Where is that carbon coming from, right? It can only come from either fats or carbohydrates. Proteins are your muscles. Unless your body is going into a starvation mode and you're eating up your own muscles, it's not going to break your muscles down. So carbohydrates are we only store a little bit of carbohydrates in the liver, maybe to last for 3 to 4 hours. So during the daytime, if you're not breathing out, well, most of us already let go of all our glycogen storage by the time lunch hits, because most of us don't eat breakfast, or we have very little bit of breakfast, so that we're already in a starvation mode. So our body gets rid of most of the sugar. So now we're running on fat, and that's why we like it, right? We love ketones and we love that energy of fasting. But essentially, fat is made at nighttime. So, and when we go to sleep at 10 o'clock, we have all this energy. We're going to sleep. Our breathing rate, respiratory rate is also dropping. Right now, we might be breathing at 16 to 20 breaths per minute, but when we go to sleep, we're breathing maybe closer to 10. So now we're not even letting go of that carbon dioxide. And if you're snoring, that's even worse. You're holding on to it. So now you're making fat, plus you're holding on to carbon dioxide because you're sleeping. That's a deadly combo. And this is what happens to most of us. So according to that article, on an average, most of us get rid of somewhere about 30 grams of carbon just when we go to sleep. If you're not, challenged, just normal breathing.
Right.
So that's in 8 hours. Sorry, that's 30. It's at 230 grams. Sorry. So 30 grams per hour, 240 grams in 8 hours. So
Okay.
that's what the article was referring to. So essentially, if our normal breathing rate, even at baseline, if we're getting rid of certain amount of carbon, then what if we did 1 hour of breathing exercise where we're letting go of all carbon dioxide out of our body, then we're going to get rid of at least, at the bare minimum, 30 grams of carbon. Just because we're not shallow breathing, we're going all the way deep down and letting go everything. All the dead space in the body is all going out. All the carbon dioxide. So when that happens, if we constantly do it every day, then obviously there are 1,000 other benefits that we're going to get, from nitric oxide boost to, when we get rid of carbon dioxide, that means we're getting rid of acid out of your body. So your body goes into respiratory alkalosis to counteract all the negative foods and pesticides and water and whatever that we ended up eating and ingesting that caused us hyperacidity, even from working out, right? Like working out can increase your oxidative stress. That also needs to be neutralized. You need something that gets rid of those extra radical oxidative stress electrons. So, this one practice at the end of the day, when we eat less food at nighttime and try not to drink any water at nighttime either, because that's also another product, right? If we keep adding carbon dioxide because we breathe less at night, and we keep adding water at nighttime, now you have a combo of food, carbon dioxide, and water. All of that is going towards making more fat. It's not going towards letting
Just
go of your fat. So
right.
essentially, this is where, if you look at any animal on the planet, or at least most of the non-nocturnal animals, they don't eat at night. Only humans and some other animals do. And we can talk about all the other Hindu and Jain and yogic principles about eating and rules around that. But this is where, in my opinion, I think the Eastern cultures, for thousands of years, said not to drink and eat after sunset, because essentially what we're doing is we're putting in gas in a car that's going to sleep, and we're putting in water in a car that doesn't need it. Because if you do intermittent fasting, that's another key concept. That's cheat code number two. If you're doing it from 12 to 8, that's messing you up, because now you're putting in food at 6, 7, and 8 o'clock, and that food is not getting digested until midnight, and it's only making fat. So, in my opinion, the whole concept of intermittent fasting needs to be moved up 4 hours. That's how I have seen success in my patients. When we do intermittent fasting, it's 8 to 4, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. rather than 12 to 8. Because why? I mean, I think there's some patronization that went on and happened in the world, that, okay, if somebody can't eat between 8 to 4, then we'll just tell them to eat between 12 and 8. But that should not be marketed, in my opinion, because it is only messing up the hormonal cycle. Because the more we eat at night, the more insulin gets released. if
Right.
I The more food, the more proportional insulin. What does that insulin do? It stays around in the body all night long, making fat. So if you're making fat, it's going to break and stop. It's not going to break, but it's going to stop every other hormone that is trying to break down fat, which is thyroid, testosterone, glucagon, cortisol, progesterone, all of these hormones that are super steroid hormones, and non-steroid hormones as well, but they are breaking down fat. They release after 2 a.m., 3 a.m. This is why men have morning, wood, and women have morning surge of cortisol and estrogen and progesterone as well. So those things are getting blocked completely because of the nighttime high amount of nighttime eating. Not just nighttime eating, you can eat a little bit, but then if you eat a lot, 80% of your food, 70% of your 60% of your food that you needed to survive, you added it after 5 p.m., then it's releasing an equal amount of insulin, and that insulin is blocking everything else. So 20, 30 years of marriage, 10 years of marriage, we normally put family first, kids first. Let's have a big dinner. And then after 10, 15 years of marriage, you see all of this getting bigger. Almost everybody who did that had bigger this, right? And what did that lead to? low testosterone, low estrogen, low libido, low sex drive. Everything went down. Thyroid came up, hypothyroidism, like a lot of things that happen started with just these two principles where we did not let go of carbon dioxide, because this is going straight down to genetics, transcription, translation level.
Hmm.
Just with one breath, we're changing the entire gene epigenome that we talk about, because of how much reduction in acid and base levels that we're doing will
Let's talk about, you mentioned epigenetics. Now that's a whole new topic, a whole very interesting subject.
yeah.
Uh, everyone, well, before we get to epigenetics, everyone that's listening right now, if you would please give a thumbs up, give a like on this video, share it with a friend, share it with someone, bring more people to the conversation. We want to hear from you guys as well. And if you have a question, write it in the comments. Anything for Dr. Choksy, please write it in the comments, and we will answer it during this interview.
And one thing I would say is, do not take anything I say as a medical advice, because I'm not your doctor, and this is only for educational purposes only. So if you
Yeah.
need help, call me. I will help you in a professional manner. But these are some of the hypotheses and principles on which I operate. So, or I think about at least.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. I'm glad you mentioned that. And epigenetics.
Yeah.
Talk about it, because I have not gone over that subject live yet, and I think it would be
Yeah.
a great
All
topic.
right. So the word epigenetics means outside or above the genes. So if genes are inside the nucleus, everything outside the entire cellular environment can be considered epigenetics.
Mm.
If you go outside the cells, what you do, how you breathe, how you eat, what time you eat, how much sun you get, what kind of clothes you wear, how you sit, everything is part of epigenetics. Because, for example, yoga is part of epigenetics. One posture, if you're doing a warrior pose or a downward dog or something, it's going to release different hormones in your body, right? If you do Vipreet Karni for women, it's going to release different hormones in your body. So the way it releases different hormones is by turning on and off certain genes, and that's epigenetic. A yoga posture stimulated a gene to turn on the protein that you need to support that journey. So if you turn on the environment in your room right now to 100 degrees, that's part of your epigenetics. That's turning on a gene in your body that says, hey, the environment is so hot. Your genes are like Tesla coil, they're responding, and they're saying, we need to do something. Let's turn on this program that produces sweat or sweat glands, which are proteins. So anything that's outside you that goes in you through your 10 senses, not five, 10 senses. And that's my opinion. I
What
know
are the
that's a
10?
whole different conversation that so
We're gonna be here for 3 hours talking about everything tonight.
but so just think about five senses, maybe six, which is your brain. Things that go in you turn on different genes. Let's say it's a two-way street. All of your senses are a two-way street. What you see turns on certain amount of genes. If you get afraid, it's going to turn on your cortisol and your epinephrine, adrenaline rush. So that happened because those genes got turned on that produces those hormones that allow you to do certain things. If you hear something, if you smell something like essential oils, or anything pretty much. So, or things that go on your skin, right? We think a lot of times we put in lotions and a lot of things that are very toxic on our skin, but skin is the biggest organ that absorbs and turns on certain genes in your body. And if you keep doing something over and over and over and over again, you're essentially training a habitual pattern for your genes to stay in that rhythm. And that it's very hard to get out of, because a lot of us just take that as aging. You can absolutely can anti-age. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, you can't. God decides, and you decide how long you want to live. But
That's your opinion, right?
my opinion. I mean, there's a whole conference. I'm part of the fellowship with anti-aging and regenerative medicine and cellular medicine. I'm certified and fellowship trained. But I mean, those are all extra certifications that we can think
Right.
about. But it's there. It's available.
So you mentioned epigenetics being
Yeah,
like certain practices that you do on a daily basis, right?
yeah,
So breathing can be one of those practices that you do on a daily
yeah,
basis, right?
yeah.
Having essential oils, nice smells around you is something that you can do on a daily basis. So what is something you could do that will help you on anti-aging, that you could do on a daily basis, that will, like you'll start looking like you look like you're 23.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm not 23. I'm 37. but but yeah. So I would say the most, I guess, the hardest thing to do, but I think that's probably one of the most important thing to do is staying true to your timings. If you eat at the right time, at same time, and if you sleep at the same time every day consistently, then a lot of things in your body will get equalized, right? Like we talk about Ayurveda and Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and all of these things, but even in those concepts, even yoga, that uh, that's related to uh, all of those concepts are founded on the principle of keeping the times consistent, right? We can break down the entire day in Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, or Kapha, Pitta, and Vata, and eat right in the middle of those times, right? Pitta is 10 to 2 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So right in the middle, when the pitta is highest, that's when you're supposed to eat.
Mm,
So something like that. So that's in your life, without knowing how everything affects you, whether you're a third shift worker or first, second shift worker. This would be something that essential. And the second thing I would say is, if you can do, out of 365 days, if you can do majority of your days which you control at home, if you can do intermittent fasting from 8 to 4, so sorry, eat feeding window should be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and then after that, drink something like this, or alkaline water that is natural, not smart water or balanced pH or whatever, which are man-made alkaline. Drink something like this to de-acidify your stomach. So this is key. If you get hungry after 4 p.m., that's because you have hyperacidity in your stomach. Just because you drink 8 ounces of this, that you're neutralizing the stomach acid, and then you won't get hungry. So keep doing that. Automatically, you're going to get into this feeding window between 8 and 4. Eat as much as you want at 8 o'clock, as much as you want at 12. Eat a little bit at 4, and then no more than 8 ounces of liquid after 4 p.m., because you want your fat cells to hydrate you rather than this water to hydrate you. And if you need to drink, it's not a big deal. But uh, those are the two principles: keeping the time steady, eating less after 4 p.m., and drinking less after 4 p.m. will essentially start your entire process of reversing your hormonal flow. And when that happens, then you can start talking about, okay, now I got my life back, now I have my hormones back, now I can go out and do yoga, now I can actually focus in meditation, now I can work on my third eye, now I can do all of these things, right? All of these things that what we're talking about are essentially dependent on you unblocking your own self with the time constraints and the irregularities and inconsistent timings of things that we have placed on ourselves. Because if you train your body to eat at 6 p.m. every day, and that's your mental time clock, but then and 8 o'clock breakfast in the morning, for example, but then one day you have breakfast, your body gets trained and your pancreas is like, okay, I'm going to release my pancreatic enzymes and everything at 8. But then the next day you're not having your breakfast, and the third day you're having your breakfast at 11, and the fourth day you wake up on Sunday and have a brunch at 12. So your body gets confused. It's like, what's going on, right? Why I'm like, I was supposed to be ready with my breakfast at 8, but now I'm not getting my food until 10, and now I'm not getting my food until 12, and then it fixes, then it says, okay, I'll be ready with 12. But then Monday hits again, and then now you're 8 o'clock person again. So it keeps messing us up, and this is life, right? In any business or anything, consistency is the name of the game. If you're consistent, you're going to win.
Yeah.
So if you can, and that's winning is not comparatively to others. By the way, it's win against your own self.
You're right.
uh, but that's all it is. Like we just have to stay consistent with those timing. I would say, if you ask me, I'm not. I'm consistent with maybe 70 to 80% of the things, because, like, if I want to go to sleep early and we're doing this call, then I have to stay late. So, and those kind of things happen.
Right.
But
What?
if you can hit 90% of your life, I think that's still better than none.
So I think that 8 to 4 switch is something that I want to implement in my life. Right now, I do the 12 to 8 intermittent
Yeah,
fast.
yeah.
It's a
And
flip.
then if you go out with your friends, like I go out and have fun and you have gatherings, then that's okay. Don't worry about it. Still keep your morning 8 o'clock breakfast. Still keep your 12 o'clock lunch. And Saturday you're going out, go out, still have something at 4 o'clock. Don't miss out on your timing. Just have a protein shake or something, and then go out with your friends. And then you're not gonna, eat a lot of food. You're gonna eat with them. You're gonna have fun with them, but you're gonna eat very little bit because you're out and about, and that's okay. And you can still have your social life, and
Because that
then
doesn't happen every day. It's like
it
once a
doesn't
week.
happen. Yeah, once a week or every other week or whatever it's
Right.
happening.
Yeah.
and
That makes
and and most of the time, as the older you get, the less it happens. So
true. Circle goes smaller and smaller.
I mean, once you have kids and things, like, everything changes, right?
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that's
yeah,
great. That's great advice.
yeah.
So we talked about weight loss. We talked about anti-aging. Uh, you do you want to do a breathing exercise and
Sure,
show
we
how to
can
do
try
it?
some. Yeah, yeah. I
Like just
think
do one. Let's
let's
do
do it
one.
for let's do it for a few minutes and then see.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do one. Let's guide them for a couple of breaths, 3, 4 breaths, and then that'll be
All
perfect.
right. So let's assume that you have done intermittent fasting. Let's assume that it's exactly 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, right? A couple hours after your last meal. So your stomach should be empty. And just sit down anywhere where you can keep your back straight. You can do this even while watching TV if you want to, because I just want you to get started in this realm. So we're not going to put any limitations on you. Just make sure that you're not hunched, your stomach is not pressed with all your weight of your chest. So you can put a pillow behind your back and just sit comfortably. Now when you're seated like this, right, just do one more thing. Hold this mudra, right? So what you're doing is you're pressing your first finger down, and you're pressing it down as much as you can, and you're wrapping your thumb around, and then you're resting this mudra, and you can keep your fingers relaxed. It doesn't have to be straight, but if you can, that's fine. But just keep it in a relaxed posture right on top of your feet. All right. So now give yourself permission to start this journey, because this is not only physical, but this is also a spiritual journey. This helps uh, this helps bring down carbon dioxide in your body. Essentially, it is also bringing down vata in your body, because vata is related to air quality. So we're pressing this down, we're sitting here, and now let's inhale. Just inhale as deep as you can, exhale. Okay, now next step is inhale, open your chest and open your stomach like a balloon, and exhale, and use your one hand to just press your belly a little bit. So you can press your belly completely and exhale everything out. You got it? Now, inhale. So see how it feels? Now you can really feel the inhalation of your balloon, basically. Exhale again. And as you exhale, use your one hand and press on your belly down. And you can use like this. If I get rid of all of my air, I won't be able to talk. But press it down all the way and then inhale. So stomach expands, And then take a deep breath again to expand laterally, so sideways. So expanding front and expanding sideways. So opening up all your collapsed lung alveoli. So you're going to do this. Inhale, inhale. So you're lifting, expanding with your chest if you can, and exhale. And you can breathe out through your nose, through your mouth, whatever is easier. I just need you to compress your stomach. You don't have to use your hands to compress your stomach, but just this is just easier to see because some people, what they do is they inhale and suck their stomach in. They do this. We're not doing that, right? We're going out
Right.
and then exhale. So let's count. Okay, I'm gonna count. So ready? Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So in 3 seconds, I want you to take a deep breath in all the way, complete inhalation. And in 6 seconds, do whatever you can to let go of all your air. So if you have to open your mouth and go, that's 3 seconds and everything is out, right? I still have air. But you can you can get rid of all of that in 6 seconds. I'm going to count, and your job is to get rid of all of your air in 6 seconds, okay, while pressing this like that. Perfect. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Some people might get lightheaded. So if you do get lightheaded, slow it down. You don't have to keep this pace, but keep doing it. So the idea is to do this continuously for 1 hour, and you will get lightheaded. At some point or another, you will get lightheaded. So just slow down and take a break for a second or two, and then go back again. And then let's do it in a little bit shorter time if you can. Otherwise, we'll just do 3 and 6. So inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is
Right.
a little tiresome, right? Like you can get tired just because you're working and you will sweat and your stomach will, by the time you're done with an hour, it feels like you have done an abdominal ab workout because you're sucking your stomach in, although without weight, but that's something that will happen. And the longer you do it, the better the benefits are because your brain now will get dilated. All of your blood vessels will get dilated because nitric oxide and a bunch of other things will go up. You're also going to release endorphins and all kind of stuff. But this will start the balancing process before we end up doing other types of pranayams and everything else, which even Kapalbhati and things. This is a variation of Kapalbhati, but this allows you to exhale all the way, while rapid forced exhalation in Kapalbhati doesn't let you exhale all your carbon dioxide out. So there is this, and if you have blood pressure and all kind of stuff, if you're over 50, then you don't want to do rapid anyways because it will jack up your blood pressure. So those are things that you have to keep in mind. So this is a very simple way of balancing your internal self to start with, and then we can talk about nadis and everything else later on.
So this is like something that to do in the evening time. Is that what, or
Pick
can you do
pick
it
a
every
time.
time?
You can do it anytime.
Okay.
Anytime when you're relaxed and rested. But evening, I only said evening because we're talking about intermittent fasting. You can do it in the morning as well, and do it when you're already fasted, right? You're fasted for 16 hours already. So do it from 7 to 8 in the morning, and you're already in a keto state. So if you do it in the morning, you might actually get more benefit because you're already in a keto state and now you're hitting those fat cells even more. So they have to be broken down. But, you know, see which time works for you because I don't know everybody. It's obviously personalized and it's individualized, little bit, because each individual person could be Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, or tridoshic, or dominant with one or the other. So then this practice just changes just a tad bit
Got it. So
when to do it.
if they call you, then you can guide them through what they need to do. And
Yeah. And maybe one of the easier way to do it is, like, I have a online coaching platform as well. So if they go on acemyhealth.us, I created a divine circle. So I call it Ace My Health Divine Circle. So instead of a network or a community, it's a circle of people that put their God-given gifts that they have in the circle to help the entire community, and collectively everybody gets better. So I have an essential oil class on there, and I'm putting up the yoga class. It's not there yet, but I will do it. Meditation, breath work,
what's
eating.
your website again?
ACE myhealth.us.
Okay,
And
so
it is a community. I call it the divine circle, because it is a circle. We're talking about our nadis and our ida and pingala, and it is absolutely a circle that we're talking about. So it's we're going to have other people who love sharing their gifts, so we will have their classes on there as well. And soon enough it will grow to have many other I guess divine and sacred things on there, along with they're all because I'm a doctor, I'm going to put a lot of stuff that is related to medicine and anti-aging, and how to use stem cells and peptides, and all the regenerative stuff to all of those things will be on there as well. So that might be a easier and a simpler route for somebody to join. Right now, if they join essential oil class, then I'm teaching essential oils from an Ayurvedic perspective, and a
wow,
yogic perspective,
interesting.
and a anti-aging perspective. So that essential oil class is, I believe that it is out of this world, but that's what everybody who's in the class have told me, because we're talking about yoga, Ayurveda, anti-aging, but we're talking about essential oils and how to. I'm sharing different protocols for each disease. So this class might go on for 2 years, maybe probably up to 2 years, but it happens every Saturday. It happens live, and it's recorded and posted on the platform. But I'm sharing my protocols that I believe for each and every single disease. So if somebody has some issue going on with hair, what protocol should we use? Which essential oil should we use? How do we use it? What time of the day do we use it? Does it make sense for me if I'm obese, or if I'm skinny, or if I'm average weight, or if I'm young or old? Like, all of those things play a role. So my goal in teaching the essential oil is to teach everybody to have instead of a medicine cabinet, have medicine cabinet, but your first go-to tool, keep them as essential oils, which are clean. 150 hospitals in the US uses them. We know that even in Cincinnati, we have a lot of hospitals using essential oils. So that's something that could be a great start for somebody who wants to learn a lot of things that I teach. And obviously, you can call me at my office as well.
What's your Instagram? I'm gonna put that in the chat as well.
Oh yeah, Dr. Ace.mdz. DRACE.mdz.
There we go.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, fantastic.
Yeah, this is where, like, all the yogic principles come in, and including Jain principles, because of the nighttime eating concept and not drinking um, after sunset. It scientifically, to me now, it makes sense
It makes
why they
sense
were.
to me too now through this conversation. Yeah.
You're
Wow.
gonna drink less water on your podcast now.
Yeah, definitely. Especially in the evening time. I'll drink it all at 6 o'clock and not at 7. uh, I want to talk about what are the biggest myths about weight loss.
So I would say biggest myth about weight loss is people think that they can get away by eating anything, or that they have to work out a lot, and they have to exercise a lot. weight loss is we don't I guess people don't realize the a lot of people think that weight is happening because of hormones or some other disease or eating more, but we have to realize that our body is a machine that adapts to the epigenetic or the environment or the behaviors that you have done. So if the weight has come on board, then there are emotional factors that has also been there, right? A lot of times we put on a barrier to protect our internal self, and that fortress sends a subconscious a signal that says, hey, I need a padding, I need to protect myself, I just went through a rough breakup, or I just went through a hospital and I need to protect myself, so let me pad myself up. So that's an emotional aspect that doesn't get considered a lot. And a lot of times today, we're talking about diet, and we're talking about Weight Watchers, and we're talking about high proteins and keto. But I have patients who don't have genes to digest fats. I look at their genes. I tell them you cannot do keto. Like your car, your engine has three fuel sources: fat, proteins, and carbs. But if you don't have an engine to digest enough fats, then you should only be eating carbs and proteins. While a lot of times one of the biggest myths is about carbs, because people think that eating carbs puts on weight. But that's not true for more than half the America, because a lot of us don't have fat genes to break down a lot of fats. So basically, think about your car having cylinders. If you don't have the cylinders to throttle the engine, no matter what you do, it's not going to go fast. It's just going to back up. So if I eat a keto diet with 70% fat, then my machine, my mitochondria that needs to work at certain speed to make certain amount of energy for me, it will not, because it doesn't have the genes. It's mutated or something, whatever, right? More often than not, it's mutated. So this is where the genetic testing comes in very handy, where you can say, okay, you have high protein genes, you need 80%, 80 grams of protein. So you need high carb genes, you can tolerate 300 grams of carbs per day, and it's okay. But then once you have that genetic understanding, I have put genes and categorized them into Vata, Pitta, and Kapha Ayurvedically as well. So we are literally customizing a diet that is specific to gene, specific to your body constitution from an Eastern perspective, and then providing a workout schedule that is also gene specific. So working with NBA players like Denver Nuggets and Detroit Pistons and Los Angeles Chargers, NFL guys, when we do genetic testing and give them a gene specific workout, their coaches and their athletic trainers are like, whoa, that's different. Like, let's make your cells efficient, right? It's all about efficiency.
Right.
If I have certain genes, well, I'm going to give you those kind of fuels. My cells are going to make ATP and energy out of it. So why would I want to give my car diesel when it only wants gas? It's
Right.
just not going to work.
Right.
And we don't think about those things because those are not some things that are talked about. And because a lot of these things are very new concepts as well, with genetics and epigenetics, it's been it will get proven. More randomized control studies will get done. I mean, some of them have been done, but still, like, we're still discovering. We're still in the discovery phase of all the genes and everything else. So it's something that I would say, I think in the next 5 years we will have a little baby getting gene tested and having a genetic diet and a exercise program from the day that they're born automatically through AI and all the Silicon Valley startups. I think it's happening. It's coming. So it's just a matter of time when we make it cheaper to do whole genome testing. But yeah, that's what we're doing. So it's gene specific. So weight loss myth, I would say carbohydrate. Eating a lot puts on more weight. Not really. You can eat as much
So
as
it's
you
not
want.
always true for everyone.
Yeah, you can eat at breakfast and lunch, right? You can have 2,000 calorie diet between breakfast and lunch, and it's going to be hard for your body to put on weight. Now, obviously, you do have to keep in mind about glycemic surges and having too much sugar and all of that. But that's where we perfect the diets based off of the genes and Vata, Pitta, and Kapha to make sure we're only giving you a diet that's based off of your BMI and your height and your activity level, so
Mm,
that you do feel full while uh,
mhm.
you enjoy food as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, sometimes I realize that I eat certain kind of food, like it's all spicy, right? And then
Yeah,
after the meal is over, I'll want that sweet. I'll want to have that dessert,
yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
I'm craving that because
yeah,
it wasn't there in that meal,
yeah,
and now my body wants to balance it and make sure that I get all
yep,
of the taste in it.
yep,
Uh, and so I have the craving for sweets, and I just eat it.
yeah.
But yeah, I'll make sure I eat it in the afternoon now this time. So it's after 8 o'clock. It's not after 4 o'clock. That's my
I think our ancient people were super smart, to be honest. I think we're catching up. I think
yeah.
they knew way more than what we think that they knew.
Yeah, science is catching up, right? Like now
Science is still
we're
catching up. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that,
I mean, when you look at the ancient archaeological evidence and all kind of stuff, like the
mm,
technology was way advanced than what we have today.
yeah. Yeah, we haven't talked about it. We haven't been taught that. It's been in a way omitted out of our history books, and we're like we don't share that. If we did, then we would be
Yeah,
thinking along those lines, right?
yeah.
There are technologies out there that have existed that have been discovered or invented by people, but the government is hiding it because it's way too advanced, and and all those kinds of things. So there's a
Mhm.
lot going on out there behind the scenes.
Yep,
Uh,
yep.
Hey man, this has been a fabulous conversation. I didn't know where the time went. It's just like flew by
And
talking to you.
yeah, I tried to talk as fast as I can.
No, you got a lot in, and I mean, this is gonna be super beneficial for everyone. All of our audience members, please like this video, share it with a friend, because I mean, there was so many great nuggets of wisdom in this video that Dr. Choksy shared with us. So please like this video, share it with a friend. And Dr. Choksy, are there any last words you want to share? Maybe you want to share like a lesson, something that you learned along the way that you want to impart on people?
Oh my God.
I mean,
That's a
you already
broad
shared
question.
a lot.
So here's one.
Yeah.
This human birth, this human birth is an opportunity for us to learn how to turn on and off our 10 senses. At some point, we'll talk about these senses, but just remember that you have 6 senses right now, and then there are 4 more.
We're
This
gonna bring
is
you
the
on.
opportunity.
Yeah.
This human birth is an opportunity to turn on these senses, because these are the only senses that are bringing in. When you turn on a sense, it's like electrical current, right? Brain, everything has an electrical current,
Mm,
and that electrical current by definition has a magnetic force, positive and negative,
mm,
that's attracting positive and negatives to you. So in this human birth, if you're turning on a sense and we're learning something, if I'm looking at something, I'm turning on my eyes to look at something, I'm creating certain type of karmic bondage if I'm doing it with a desire and a purpose. But the idea of going to samadhi is to turn on these senses to and turn off these senses at the end of the day, because you have to learn how to turn them on before you learn how to turn them off. And hopefully in that process we don't get ego, because great powers come with when you turn these senses off, and a lot of yogis are on that path, and you can see a lot of them slip up, and a lot of things can happen. And I don't know my journey, hopefully I don't slip up, but but it's one of those things that I learned, that I think karma, pap, punya, good deeds, bad deeds, they're all coming to you or getting away from you or using them up because of these 10 senses that we're turning on and off every single day. And if you're able to turn everything off, pretty much is the magnet that we have that detaches. And if you turn off the magnet, everything that is attached to the magnet just falls off. And that's what we call detachment. But obviously, I'm not a guru. Talk to your guru and somebody who knows something better than I do. These are all hypotheses that I talk about.
Okay, well, I'm going to bring you on again to talk about the 10 senses because I think that is an important topic that I don't want to miss out on.
Yeah, give more, breathe out more, give more to people that ask you, go to temple and pray. But then as soon as you go out of temple, if somebody asks you for something, don't, reject them because that's your God testing you.
Yeah.
So that's the last word. Give more than what you are taking in.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Choksy. I so appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Love and abundance. This
Thank
was such
you.
a great interview. I hope the audience enjoyed it as well and
Yeah, I
share your
hope so.
comments below. Thank you so much. Love and abundance. And drink your water. Just not
Yeah.
late at night, drink it early in the morning.
Exactly.